The first crack in my marriage didn't happen in Paris. It happened at Gate 42, Terminal B, Boston Logan Airport. We were boarding early because Mark liked control. He always liked control. Organized, efficient, predictable. That was the man I married. Daughter Lily was standing between us, holding her little pink backpack. She was 9, too old to be distracted forever, too young to understand adult betrayal. We were supposed to be celebrating 15 years together. Paris's anniversary. Family trip. That was the story. Mark handled the tickets. I handled packing. That had always been our rhythm. When the boarding agent scanned his phone, she frowned. "Sir, you have 3 passengers listed on this booking, but there are 4 tickets attached." My stomach tightened. Mark's smile flickered. "Just for a second. There must be a mistake," he said lightly. The agent turned the screen slightly. I saw it. Passenger, Mark Bennett. Passenger, Ava Bennett. Passenger, Lily Bennett. Passenger, Emily Carter. Not me, Emily Carter. My brain didn't react immediately. It just paused, like a system buffering something too large to process. "That's not us," I said quietly. Mark laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh, that must be from work," he said. "Corporate booking overlap." Corporate booking for Paris. On our anniversary, with our daughter standing there. The agent didn't look convinced. She printed something and handed it to him. "That ticket is under a separate confirmation code, sir." Separate.confirmation.code. I didn't speak again until we were seated at the gate. Lily was playing on her tablet. Mark was texting and I leaned closer. "Who is Emily Carter?" He didn't look at me. "Marketing consultant." "Why? She's flying with us." Now he looked at me. Calm, measured, to calm. "It's probably an error." I saw her name. Silence. Then, "It's nothing. Nothing. Nothing does not have a boarding pass." We boarded. I didn't confront him further, because something inside me had shifted. You don't explode when the foundation cracks. You stabilize. First. On the plane, Lily fell asleep against my shoulder. Mark kept checking his phone. Once, I saw a message preview light up. "Can't wait." Not for me. We landed in Paris at 6:40 a.m. Jet lag blurs logic, but betrayal sharpens it. At baggage claim, I saw her blonde, confident, early 30s. She made eye contact with Mark. That was the moment confirmation became fact. They didn't hug. They didn't smile openly, but they didn't need to. Energy speaks. I watched him, watch her, and I knew. He hadn't booked the wrong ticket. He had booked 2 trips. One for family, one for fantasy. Our hotel was near the Seine. Romantic, historic, expansive. He insisted on that one. When we checked in, the receptionist smiled warmly. "Mr. Bennett, we have both of your reservations ready." "Both?" I felt my pulse in my throat. "Both?" I asked. The receptionist looked confused. "Yes, the suite for 3, and the deluxe king room." Mark stepped in quickly. "That's for a colleague," he said smoothly. "We're splitting corporate rates." Corporate rates. On our anniversary, Ian Paris. With his mistress. He thought he was clever. What he didn't know was this. I was done being the trusting wife. That night, after Lily fell asleep, I asked him directly, "Are you sleeping with her?" He stared at the ceiling. "Ava, don't lie." Silence. Then, the exhale. "Yes." Just like that. No elaborate story, no denial, just yes. Something in me broke quietly, not loudly. Quiet breaks are worse. How long? 6 months? 6 months of late meetings? 6 months of work stress? 6 months of lying in the same bed? As me and you brought her here, I wanted time with both parts of my life, both parts. I almost laughed. "You're not 2 people, Mark. You're 1 coward." He flinched. "I was going to tell you when." He didn't answer, because he wasn't. Then I said the sentence that changed the trajectory of everything. "If Lily grows up and her husband does this to her, what would you tell her?" He didn't respond immediately. If a man books a romantic trip and brings his mistress under the same roof, what would you tell our daughter? His face changed. Not defensive, not angry, shaken. That's different. No, it isn't. Stood up, pacing. I never meant to hurt you. You never meant to get caught. He ran his hands through his hair. I love you. You love comfort. You love admiration. You love not choosing. Silence filled the room. Then quietly, I don't want a divorce. There it was. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I was wrong. I don't want divorce. I can divorce you, I said calmly. You understand that, right? He nodded. I have evidence. I have grounds. He sat down slowly. I don't want to lose my family. You already risked it. Here is what surprised him. I didn't scream. I didn't throw his phone. I didn't call her. I didn't pack our bags. I said, I'm not divorcing you. He looked up, hopeful. Not because I forgive you. Hope faded. Because I refuse to let this destroy our daughter's stability. Silence. You don't get to walk out and start over clean. You don't get to reset. He swallowed. You stay. What? You stay in this marriage? You stay in this house? You stay as a father? He looked confused. No intimacy. Number 2. Pretending. No comfort. His face drained. You earned trust back. That was the beginning. Not of reconciliation, of reckoning. The next morning in Paris, I woke up before Mark. Jet lag wasn't the reason. Betrayal doesn't let you sleep deeply. The room was quiet, except for Lily's slow breathing from the adjoining suite. The city outside our window was beginning to wake, soft morning lights stretching across rooftops. I watched my husband sleep. For the first time in 15 years, I did not recognize the man beside me. He had cried the night before, real tears, not dramatic ones, not manipulative ones, the kind that come from fear. I don't want to lose you, he had said, but I realized something important. He didn't fear losing me. He feared consequences. Those are different things. At 9 a.m., there was a knock on the door. He froze instantly, not confused, not surprised, afraid. That told me everything. He stood slowly. I'll get it, he said. No, I replied calmly. I opened the door, and there she was, Emily up close. Not just the blonde silhouette from baggage, calm, confident, stylish, expecting something. She smiled automatically until she saw me. Her smile cracked. Hi, she said softly. I stepped aside slightly, not inviting, not aggressive. Yes, I was looking for Mark. Of course you were. Silence. She glanced past me and saw him standing there. The air changed. You can feel when two people share history. It's physical, electric, uncomfortable. Is this your colleague? I asked him without turning around. He didn't answer. She did. Didn't know you were bringing your wife. That sentence was a gift. You didn't know? I asked calmly. No, she said. He told me this was a business trip. Of course he did. He lied to both of us. Different stories saying coward. Mark stepped forward. Ava, let's not do this here. Do what? I asked evenly. Tell the truth. Emily looked between us. You told her? She asked him. He nodded. Slowly, and I watched something flicker across her face. Not guilt, annoyance. You said you were separating, she said quietly. There it was, separating. He didn't just cheat. He built a narrative to her too. Justify it. He positioned me as temporary Lily's. Voice floated from the bedroom. Mom? I stepped back inside immediately. This conversation is over, I said calmly. Emily stood there awkwardly for a moment. Then she left. No screaming, no insults, just reality. And reality is heavier than drama. When I closed the door, I turned to Mark. You told her we were separating. He ran his hands through his hair. I thought we might. You thought wrong. He looked cornered. I didn't know how to manage it. You don't manage betrayal, I said quietly. You choose integrity or you don't. We still had 4 days left in Paris, 4 days in a city designed for romance. Irony can be cruel. I made a decision that morning we would not leave early, we would not pretend, and we would not explode. We would function for Lily, for dignity, and because running away is easy, facing things is harder. That afternoon, we walked along the Seine. Tourists laughed, couples held hands. Lily skipped ahead, pointing at street artists. Mark walked beside me, silent. Finally, he said, "What do you want me to do?" It was the first honest question he asked. "I want you to understand something," I replied. "This isn't about divorce." He looked confused. "It's not, no." He exhaled slightly. Then I continued. "It's about trust." Silence. "I can divorce you," I said calmly, "and I would win." He didn't argue. "I have evidence, financial proof, lies, hotel bookings," he nodded. "But I am not divorcing you." He looked relieved for half a second. Then I finished. "I am separating from you." His relief vanished. "What does that mean?" "It means you will live in the same house." He frowned. "But not in my room." He swallowed. "You will be a father." "I already am." "You will prove it." He didn't speak. No intimacy. No comfort. No pretending this is normal. He stared at the river. "How long?" "As long as it takes." That night, he tried to hold my hand. I moved it gently away. Not angrily, not dramatically, just deliberately. "You don't get access to me right now," I said. That hurt him more than yelling would have, because silence is colder. On the third day, he asked if I wanted to leave early. "No," I said. "Why?" "Because I refuse to let your mistake steal memories from our daughter." He nodded slowly. We went to the Eiffel Tower. We took photos, and in every photo, there is a visible distance between us. Not wide, but clear. The last night in Paris, he broke, not loudly, not theatrically. He sat on the edge of the bed and said, "I don't recognize myself." That was the first sentence that sounded like accountability. "Good," I replied. He looked up. "You shouldn't." I was stupid. He said, "Yes, I was selfish. Yes, I thought I could have both. And," he exhaled, "I can't." Silence stretched between us. "I need to know if there's a chance," he said quietly. I thought about it carefully. "Because false hope is cruelty. There is a chance," I said. His eyes lifted, but not because you're sorry. He listened. "There's a chance because of our daughter." He nodded. "And because 15 years don't disappear in 6 months." Tears gathered in his eyes. "But understand this clearly," I continued. "You are starting from zero." When we landed back home, nothing looked different. The house was the same, the driveway was the same, but something inside it had shifted. That first night back, I moved into the guest room. He didn't argue. He helped carry my pillow. That was new. Small, but new. The following week I scheduled therapy. Not asked. Scheduled. "You're coming," I told him. "Yes," he said immediately. "I will have full access to your phone, your accounts, everything." "Yes, if I sense dishonesty again, this ends." He nodded. No defensiveness, just fear, and maybe understanding. Months. Past trust does not return like a light switch. It returns like frost melting. Slow, uneven, sometimes. Refreezing, he deleted her number. He sent her a final message in front of me. He blocked her. He showed up to therapy. He listened, really listened. When our daughter asked why we weren't sleeping in the same room, we told her gently that adults sometimes need space to work on things. She accepted it in the way children do, with quiet observation. One evening, 6 months later, he asked softly, "What do you need from me?" That question was different now. Not panicked, not desperate, curious. "I need consistency," I said. "Not grand gestures, not promises. Consistency." He nodded. and time. Here's the truth most revenge stories don't tell you. Leaving is powerful, but staying on your terms is powerful too. Divorce would have been easier, cleaner, more dramatic. But we have a daughter, a mortgage.history.memories.an. I refuse to let one season of weakness erase a lifetime of building. That doesn't mean I forgave him instantly. It means I chose peace over chaos. A year later, we stood in our kitchen. He reached for my hand again. This time, I didn't move it away. Not because I forgot, but because he had earned a step forward. Not all of it, just a step. He squeezed gently. "Thank you," he whispered. "This isn't forgiveness," I said quietly. "I know, this is probation." He almost smiled. "I'll take it." Final truth. He thought he could live two lives. He was wrong. He thought I would collapse. I didn't. He thought I would scream. I calculated. He thought divorce was the only consequence. But sometimes the hardest punishment is staying and proving every day that you deserve the life you almost destroyed.